Hello future officers, welcome to another learning session. Now this session is about a solution with regards to question that came in UPSC Mains 2023 GS Paper 3 Environment and Ecology. So let us look at the question. What is oil pollution? What are its impacts on the marine ecosystem? In what way is oil pollution particularly harmful for a country like India? And it's a 10 marker. We have to answer this in 150 words. So clearly we have three separate demands. We have three parts of the question, right? So what is oil pollution? Its impact on the marine ecosystem. Also, in what way we have to link, we have to tell that in what way oil pollution is particularly harmful for a country like ours. And finally, we have to conclude, right? So let us see. So first things first, what is oil pollution? Oil pollution is also known as oil contamination, or more popularly, oil spills, right? It refers to the release or discharge of liquid petroleum hydrocarbons, commonly referred to as oil, right, into the environment, particularly in the natural water bodies like the oceans, rivers, lakes, or even on land, right? And this release, it can occur either due to human activities or due to natural events. Now we should also be aware of certain examples, right? Because examples are one thing which enrich our answers, right? So what are the examples? War, right? Oil spill due to war. In Persian Gulf War, oil spill 1991, more than 380 million gallons of oil it was poured into the northern Persian Gulf. Also 2010, in fact it is regarded as among the largest known accidental oil spills. So this was accidental oil spill in the history, right? And where it was? It was in the Gulf of Mexico. And the most recent one, 2020, Mauritius oil spill, right? So Mauritius oil spill of 2020. So it struck a coral reef which resulted in oil spill of over 1,000 tons, right? An important thing to remember is that the accident, it had taken place near two environmentally protected marine ecosystems, the Blue Bay Marine Park Reserve, which is again a wetland of international importance, right? So first part, we have to tell what is oil pollution. You can define what is oil pollution, and you can give certain examples for that, right? So that addresses the first part of our question. Now coming to the second part, what are its impact of oil pollution on the marine ecosystem? So we have a number of impacts. We will see one by one what are the impacts, right? So first of all, both the birds and the mammals, they can die from hypothermia, right? They can both die from hypothermia. You can see the state of the pelican. It's a beautiful bird. And see what has happened due to the oil spill. So as a consequence of oil spill, as the oil spills, according to NOAA of US, oil actually destroys the insulating capacity of the fur-bearing mammals such as the sea otter. Also important to remember is that it decreases the water repellency of the bird's feather. The birds are unable to repel the water, and as a consequence, they lose their ability to repel the cold water, and that is why they face hypothermia, right? Which is more often than not fatal, right? And we have a number of other impacts, right? So since you have to answer this question in 150 words, so it's always better to use certain flowcharts, certain diagrams, right? Because in limited words you can convey your answer. So impacts on the marine ecosystem, it can be coating and the smothering. We will see all of these, right? Toxicity, of course, oil definitely have toxic compound in it. It disrupts the feeding and the breeding, right? The feeding patterns change completely. Also habitat destruction, right? Impacts on the coral reefs. Coral reefs in general, by nature, they are extremely sensitive organisms, right? They are actually indicator species. They cannot tolerate higher temperatures. They cannot tolerate higher amount of sediments. So how can they tolerate oil spills, right? Disruptions of the food chain. Because oil spill directly impacts the phytoplanktons, which is at the core, which is at the base of the food chain, marine food chain, right? Thereafter, also we have the economic and social impact, right? Because lot of livelihoods, lives and livelihoods are dependent upon the marine ecosystem, a healthy and functional marine ecosystem. Also, there are long-term residual effects because oil compounds, they persist, right? So this is one of the method of representing, right? You can also mention them in points or sub points, right? So same points I've mentioned over here. So these are the two methods, right? Disruption of the feeding and breeding. Now habitat destruction and everything. You can also mention that they can harm benthic, that is bottom dwelling organisms. देखिए, in order to get good marks, there are certain things which we need to keep in mind, like we should use diagrams, we should use flow charts, examples, case studies, reports, right? Also the keywords, every subject has a keyword to it. So in case of oil spill, we can very well use bioaccumulation, also biomagnification, and we will see at what places can we refer them to or mention them, right? So impact on the coral reefs, disruption of the food chain. So phytoplankton, this is something you can use. Economic and social impact, long-term residual impacts, definitely, right? So when we talk about the food chain, there you can mention about bioaccumulation. Where we talk about the food security, right? There you can mention about biomagnification. We will see this. So now coming to the last part. In what way is oil pollution particularly harmful for a country like India? Oil pollution is definitely a threat, but why it is more so for a country like India? Just simple commonsensical thing, that the location of the India, our huge coastline, our connectivity to international waters, right? So we have extensive coastline, 7517 kilometers long. We have significant marine biodiversity, which includes, of course, the coral reefs, the mangroves, the estuaries, the coastal wetlands, and of course, the large population that heavily depends upon the coastal resources for their livelihood and sustenance. And there are several ways in which oil pollution possesses a direct threat to India. Why a direct threat? Because India is vulnerable to oil spills. Its huge coastline, right? Because of the high shipping traffic, because of the presence of major ports, offshore oil and gas activities. Yes, definitely we have offshore oil and gas activities, and we are exploring in KG Basin also, Mumbai High, right? So all of these. So the risk of oil spills is heightened by accidents, shipwrecks, and oil exploration activities. And you can mention the example of Mauritius oil spill 2020, right? So this is what can happen. Also very important, in fact this point you can, this is such an important point कि आप अपना आंसर भी स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं इस पॉइंट से, that why particularly oil pollution is a matter of concern for a country like India. Reason is you can quote WMO's, that is World Meteorological Organization State of Global Climate Report. और इस रिपोर्ट में क्या कहा गया है? It is a serious thing that sea levels along almost the entire Indian coast are rising faster. Now this is important. आप सभी ने सुना होगा that sea level are rising, but they are faster when it comes to the coast of India. Right? So that is why this oil pollution is particularly harmful for a country like India. Right? So sea levels along almost the entire Indian coast are rising faster than the global average. Right? Sorry. Also, when the temperatures rise, so cyclogenesis is more pronounced, right? The intensity and the frequency of cyclone, they also increase, right? And they can damage the oil storage facilities, also the offshore drilling rigs, which can lead to oil spills, right? So I hope this point is clear, right? Also, definitely we would have economic impact, and tourism would of course be impacted other than fisheries and aquaculture. Food security, again, very important point. Here you can mention oil pollution can contaminate fish and seafood, posing a health risk to those who consume them. Right? So you can create very simple diagrams also, like you can show phytoplanktons, right? And you can mention fish, then again a large fish, a small fish, then a large fish, and then a human. So you can very well show it as a marine food web. And herein you can mention biomagnification. So instead of consuming, instead of taking so much of space, because always remember you have to complete your answer in 150 words. So you can very well use such flowcharts, right? Also there are challenges in responses and cleanup, right? So cleaning up is a challenge, a task in itself, because we had seen 2010 the Mexico oil spill near that region. So it took more than 80 days, right? So adequate resources, equipment, trained personnel, advanced technologies, they are very much required, and that too in a timely, quickly coordinated fashion, right? Also, Indian Ocean is interconnected. So here you can very well draw a diagram where you can mention about Suez Canal, where you can mention Strait of Malacca, where you can show Mauritius, right? And you can just create a diagram that India geographically both has opportunities owing to its long coastline. GS paper 1 में भी एक क्वेश्चन पूछा गया था, that what are the resource potential of the long coastline, and also उसी के साथ combined क्या क्वेश्चन पूछा था, what are the hazard preparedness, right? So from there also we can draw some cues and use them in our present answer, right? And finally, never forget to conclude. So addressing and mitigating the risk, they require comprehensive approach, which would of course require effective regulation, response preparedness, public awareness, technological advancement, along with international collaboration and sustainable practices in maritime and oil related activities. Very important. And you can also quote about the London Convention, or the Bunker Convention. which are related to this. And you can end your answer on a different note, like additionally you can mention emphasizing renewable energy sources and reducing our dependency. Very important point. We are discussing about oil pollution, but end में आप end कैसे कर सकते हैं? You can very well write कि we should emphasize more on the renewable energy sources, thereby reducing the dependency on the fossil fuels. So it can play a role in minimizing the risk of oil pollution. Yes, of course. So I hope this is clear. Right. So with this, we conclude today's session. I hope you have got some meaningful insights, right? So till then, keep studying and all the very best for the upcoming examinations. Thank you very much.